We are opening 12 news bureaus around the country as part of our launch. We're building studios in Washington, D.C., New York City, and Los Angeles, California. We'll launch with 50 million subs when we go on the air in late August. We're hiring 800 employees throughout the United States, a lot of on-air talent, a lot of behind-the-scenes journalists, technicians, camera people, technology people, digital folks. We're building the plane as we're flying it.
Do you intend to rival CNN?
Not only do we plan to rival CNN, we're already a bigger global news organization than any other, including CNN, BBC. Al-Jazeera Media Networks, the mother company, has 70 bureaus around the world, and we're opening a dozen in the U.S. That's double what our next nearest competitor has. I believe BBC has about 44. So we're going to be bigger than all of them.
And in terms of programming, how much of the programming will be American originated?
That's a good question. I'd probably say 90% of it. Well, a lot of our news will originate out of New York and D.C. We do have some international news coming out of Doha, Qatar. We'll open a couple other international bureaus for Al-Jazeera America in Jerusalem, Beijing, and Moscow, and Mexico City. But yeah, already Al-Jazeera Media Networks is the largest global news organization in the world. They have the largest global footprint.
What's the ownership of the network?
Well, the ownership, it's kind of like the PBS or BBC. It's the seed funding came from the Qatari government, but ultimately the goal is for Al-Jazeera America to be self-funding. We obviously are going to have advertisers, and we have affiliates paying us fees to carry the channel. So between those two revenue sources, we should be revenue neutral very soon, and then start growing and be profitable.
Editorially, to what extent will the editorial tone reflect the Qatari origination?
It won't. We get that question a lot. We're fully independent from Qatar. We have a legal firewall. We'll have our own advisory board, and we'll be fully independent of the Qatari government.
But won't you draw from the existing Al Jazeera bureaus around the world?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. But none of the Al Jazeera Media Network's channels are beholden to the Qatari government. We are all treated the same. We all have our own code of ethics. We all have our own advisory board. We're fully independent of the Qatari government.
Is there a connection between the Al Jazeera Arabic channel and the Al Jazeera America channel?
No connection other than we're owned by the same entity. Obviously, they're serving a different audience. They're a pan-Arab network. We're serving an American audience, so we'll be talking a lot more and covering a lot more American news. But the international news that we do cover will be news that has an impact or affects American lives. So when there's a tsunami in Japan and there is then an auto part shortage in Detroit and people are getting laid off, there's a connection between what's happening in Detroit and what happened in Japan, and that's part of what I think this network's going to do, is draw the connections between how all of us are connected globally. We live in a global economy. We now live in a global communications world with the internet. We are all connected, and it's time that we start paying attention to what's happening all over the world, not just in our own backyard.
But from a Mideast reporting perspective, obviously they have crews that get access through the Arabic channel. They have the crews that get access to news in Arabic countries, and the Qatari government has its own take on how they want to interpret Arab Spring events. How will the Qatari and Al Jazeera Arabic channel editorial be represented in this new American channel?
Well, we will have the ability to draw material and reporting from all of the global bureaus. So, in effect, we will have original reporting for Al Jazeera America from those locations for the American channels. So it'll be different than what you'll see on Al Jazeera Arabic or some of the other channels.